The story begins with Akane Nishino, who is a famous actress, good student, and friendly with her classmates. However, this is a fake persona she created after an incident when a fan kidnapped and molested her. Inside, she is angry, bitter, and despises everyone, and in particular a classmate named Minoru Kagenou who barely acknowledges her existence. Akane reveals that she doesn't despise him for getting her name wrong, but for never looking at her even when his eyes are facing her direction. Kagenou is shown to carry weights in his bag and clothing to increase his strength. After school, Nishino calls her personal driver to pick her up, but she doesn't get any response. Since there is no other choice, Nishino decides to walk home all by herself, but gets kidnapped by criminals who intend to ransom her. Taking her back to their hideout, the men explains that she will be freed once they get the ransom. To their disappointment, they are interrupted by Kagenou disguised as a masked vigilante calling himself Stylish Ruffian Slayer. But when they see Slayer uses dual crowbars, they realize he is actually a dangerous brawler who can defeat gangs by himself, known as Balaclava Berserker. He then charges the guy and throws him to the ground while smashing his face. The other guy reveals that is ex-military and pulls out a knife to attack Kagenou. Even though he was initially overwhelmed, Kagenou shows him the potential of using crowbars as regular club and proceeds to break the man's leg. After defeating both men, Kagenou frees Nishino and tells her to be more careful next time. Nishino then calls the police and her father, who uses his connection to cover up the incident from going public. The next day, Nishino sees Kagenou at school and greets him once again, fully prepared to correct him as usual. But to her surprise, he gets her name right and she feels like he is looking at her this time around. A few days later, the news reports that Minoru Kagenou got into an accident which ended up taking his life. Through flashback, Kagenou explains that his entire life he wanted to become an evil mastermind controlling society in secret from the shadows, and relentlessly trained in martial arts, hoping to one day be as powerful as a nuclear bomb. Now in the present, Kagenou reincarnates in an alternate world with magical powers where he still hopes to achieve his dream of controlling society as the Eminence in Shadow. Kagenou is reborn in an alternate world as Cid Kagenou, son of minor nobles Baron and Lady Kagenou, and has an older sister named Claire. In keeping with his previous life, Cid trains in secret and resumes his vigilante lifestyle by killing bandits. Cid discovers a living blob of rotting flesh and succeeds in curing the curse afflicting it, returning it to its true form, an elven girl. To amuse himself, Cid, in character as Eminence in Shadow, convinces the girl she is a descendant of ancient heroes who defeated a demon called Diabolos, but a cult is seeking to resurrect Diabolos. Believing his lies, the girl agrees to form a group called Shadow Garden to resist the cult. Cid gives her the name Alpha, but secretly is amused Alpha believed his made-up story. 3 years later, Claire turned 15 and was about to leave home to attend the Midgar Academy for Dark Knights, but she is abruptly kidnapped. Alpha, who has now recruited 6 girls as the Shadow 7, confirms she was kidnapped by the Cult of Diabolos. Cid is convinced the girls are merely role-playing with him, completely unaware the cult actually exists, and intends Claire to be Diabolos' host body when he resurrects. Cid makes a slime knife and throws it at the map, which ends up missing the hideout, but states they will find his sister there. Beta then figures out that the cryptograms are a bluff and there actually is a secret hideout at the location pointed by Cid. At the hideout, Viscount Grease is holding Claire restrained with magic sealing chains. He comments her father's teachings, seeing as she is an excellent aristocrat, but Claire explains that she learned all by fighting her brother. Grease then asks if he healed her when she showed signs of possession, but Claire denies it, stating there is no way he can heal her. Even so, Grease decides to look into brother as well, just in case. In that moment, Claire breaks one of the chains and tells him that she will kill him if they touch her brother. Grease then knocks her out and a man comes, informing him that there are intruders. Cid leads the attack under the impression he is hunting normal bandits. Alpha enters the scene, stating that they are Shadow Garden and their mission is to annihilate the Cult of Diabolos. Grease attacks Alpha, but she has no troubles blocking them and injures him, stating she won't kill him until they get some answers. Seeing as he is overwhelmed, Grease takes a pill that boosts his magic and manages to push Alpha away to retreat. Alpha tells the girls that there is no need to chase him as Shadow is after him, which is why they split up. While walking around the tunnel's lost, Cid encounters Grease and they engage in battle. Cid then reveals that he has more magical power than Alpha but doesn't know how to use it. Cid attacks him and starts cutting him, causing Grease to wonder if he ever was that overwhelmed in battle before. Grease tells him that no matter how strong he is, the darkness in the world is much deeper. But Cid states he will just dive even deeper. Grease takes more pills and buffs himself even more, wanting to show him that people are worthless, fragile, and powerless. Cid manages to block his attacks and then using large amount of magic cuts him down. As Grease falls, he notes that he was powerless against the darkness, but maybe not a shadow. Claire escapes during the chaos and with no idea Cid was involved later leaves to attend Midgar Academy as planned. Cid, still completely ignorant of what really happened, is surprised when Alpha and the other shadows abruptly announce they are leaving. The Shadow Seven separate to hunt the cult all over the world. Cid believes they simply grew up and grew bored of his game. He enrolls in the same academy as Claire, where he deliberately avoids standing out, even choosing two average boys, Skell and Poe, as friends. As a forfeit for doing badly on a test, Cid is forced to confess love to Princess Alexia and be publicly humiliated. Cid plays along in his role as a typical background character, but is shocked when Alexia agrees to be his girlfriend. The rumors quickly spread and people start to wonder who is Cid and what's so great about him. Alexia then joins them at lunch, which surprises other students as that's the lower nobility section. Afterwards, she invites Cid to her fencing class, where he discovers Alexia is engaged to royal fencing instructor Zenon, but has no desire to marry him. Fully aware he is being used and Alexia is secretly spiteful and selfish, Cid agrees to continue their fake relationship in exchange for money. Cid notes that his parents' allowance isn't enough to carry his eminence in shadow operation and can't let this chance slip up. After 2 weeks, Alexia admits that despite the effort she puts into sword training, she is not as skilled as her sister Iris, thus she was nicknamed Fencer Ordinaire. Cid admits he actually likes her sword style, which focuses on mastery of the basics. Alexia gets mad at his statement and ends their fake relationship. The next day, Zenon reveals Alexia has disappeared and has Cid arrested as a suspect in her kidnapping. In a cell next to a mutated human girl, Alexia has her blood stolen by a cult scientist who claims it contains demon DNA. Cid is tortured by knights for Alexia's location, but having trained himself to withstand pain, he pretends to be a pathetic but innocent NPC, thinking it makes him look cool. After 5 days, Princess Iris orders Cid be released. Alpha reappears to Cid with news that they have continued to monitor the cult while increasing Shadow Garden's influence. Cid is impressed Alpha and her fellow shadows still occasionally visit to carry on their role-playing game with him, unaware Shadow Garden really has become a powerful organization. Alpha plans to rescue Alexia with 114 loyal soldiers. Cid plays along to amuse himself as he knows Alexia really has been kidnapped, but mistakenly believes it was corrupt knights, and the 114 soldiers are just background actors Alpha hired. In a massive attack, Cid murders the knights who tortured him while his army searches for Alexia. As the Shadow Garden start their attack, the doctor rushes to Alexia, stating that they are coming. Alexia tries to tell him that the knights don't kill without a reason, but the man isn't afraid of the knights. The scientist desperately injects Alexia's blood into the mutant girl, who becomes a demon but kills the scientist and frees Alexia. Alexia runs into Zenon, who reveals he gave her to the cult so they would arrange for him to be promoted as the 12th Knight of the Round Table, which is a group of high-ranking knights. Alexia attacks Zenon, but he easily defeats her with his superior techniques. At the same time, Cid comes up and introduces himself as Shadow. Zenon identifies Cid as the one behind recent attacks on the cult and announces himself as one of the cult's core members. Meanwhile, the demon girl escapes the hideout and rampages through the city fighting Iris. Alpha reveals herself to Iris as a member of Shadow Garden and defeats the demon before vanishes. Seeing Cid dominating Zenon in the duel, Alexia, who has no idea he is Cid under his disguise, is captivated by his sword style, which expresses the heart of the style she has searched for her entire life. Cid slashes Zenon, who gets mad and asks him why is he hiding his identity if he is this strong. Cid states that they are Shadow Garden and hunting in the shadows is the sole purpose of their existence. Annoyed, Zenon takes out some red pills and explains that by taking them he will awaken a new nature beyond human limitations, and if an ordinary person takes them he will be overwhelmed by their tremendous power and die. Zenon then takes the pills and transforms into a demonic form, stating he is the third awakened. To his disappointment, using the principles of a nuclear explosion, Cid sets off a magic bomb that dissolves everything in the blast radius to atoms, killing Zenon and destroying most of the evacuated city. Later, Alexia reunites with Iris, freshly determined to master her chosen sword style. Alexia, having remembered that Cid likes her sword style, offers to be his real girlfriend now that Zenon is dead, but when he abruptly rejects her, she punishes him violently. The place he was attacked gets known as one of school's 7 mysteries, as many found large amount of blood there, but no bodies or missing people were reported. Alpha returns to investigating a group that has been masquerading as Shadow Garden while committing crimes. Iris orders a full kingdom investigation into the Cult of Diabolos and Shadow Garden. Meanwhile, while reading and carrying books, Sherry Barnett bumps into Cid, who is covered in blood from Alexia's attack. Skell and Poe wonder how things went with Alexia and if Cid got at least a kiss. But to their disappointment, Cid tells them that they broke up and haven't done anything. So to straighten up their relationship, Skell tells him about a place that sell all kinds of good stuff, including something called chocolate, which they can give to girls to win them over. In another scene, the false Shadow Garden begins committing murders. A cult relic is recovered, so Iris gives it to the pink-haired student Sherry, the kingdom's most brilliant researcher, to decipher it. Cid's friends Poe and Skell take him to a new department store where it is revealed Cid's subordinate Gamma opened the store to fund Shadow Garden with branches in every city in the world. Cid is impressed but once again is convinced Gamma is role-playing, unaware he now owns dozens of stores, making him one of the wealthiest men in the world. He also meets Nu, the newest shadow who was recruited by Alpha, as she acknowledges her skill. Before leaving, Cid tells Gamma that he wants to purchase 3 of the cheapest chocolate she has, but Gamma gives him the highest quality ones for free. On his way home, Cid spots Alexia fighting several murderers, so he saves her by slaughtering the murderers and hands one survivor to Nu for interrogation. Elsewhere, the murderer's boss Gaunt Knight confirms they located the relic. Alexia confirms Shadow Garden is not the real murderers, though Iris still insists they are enemies of the kingdom. Using chocolate from Cid's store, Skell confesses to a girl and is punished by her fiancé. Poe also confesses to a girl but is arrested as she recognizes him as her old stalker. Cid decides to just give the remaining chocolate to anyone, which by chance is Sherry. Her adoptive father, Vice Principal Rustlin, informs the naive Sherry that the chocolates were probably meant as a love confession and to decide on her answer quickly to not keep Cid waiting. He also tells her that study and research is important, but she needs to learn how to interact with others. He starts to cough but states he has been feeling better lately and is lucky to have such a good daughter. And this brings the video to an end. I will be uploading part 2 of the series, so turn on notifications so you don't miss out. Until next time, farewell.